Well, that's not ideal. Hello YouTubes. At some point in the future I want to make remote controlled turnout switches, but for now I just want my trains not to fall off the track, so we're going to try and make some very simple turnout springs. Let me explain closer. So these switches, they normally come with one of these big plastic levers. This bit slots in one of the wee holes and it does that and pushes it left and right. They work fine, but they don't look very realistic. They're a bit bulky and they're quite hard to fit flush if you've got a little raised road bed. Words please. So I'm not going to be using that. Eventually there'll be a little bar that goes down a hole in this part through the base, and there'll be an electric device underneath that switches it. So for now, we need to make a little spring just to make sure it either stays there or stays there. And all we have to do is make something like this, simple as that. Now, you can use piano wire or even a paper clip. Paper clip's a little bit soft. I like something a little bit harder. I'm actually going to be using some welding wire because I've got millions of it in the garage. It's pretty strong. You can bend it a few times before it snaps, and it's quite springy. So I'll show you what else we're going to need for this little project. We will need your choice of wire. As I say, I'm using some welding wire, a little magic marker or Sharpie, set of little snips, set of long nose pliers, and a tiny little drill. I've obviously got it in something that's way overpowered. You can use a Dremel or even one of those little hand drills. Let us begin. Step one, we're going to cut a bit of wire. I've got millions of this, so I don't mind if I waste it. So I'm going to just start with about 3 inches of the stuff. And then I'm going to just try and straighten it out a little bit. It's not crucial at the moment. Get rid of this bit. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create maybe a 30-degree bend. You could probably do this by hand, but I want it as tight as possible. When I say tight, I mean I don't want it curved round. I want it a nice defined bend like that. Okay, now we move over to the track because we're going to have to drill a tiny little hole and make some measurements. Every set of points I have encountered already have this tiny little hole in the centre, which is ideal because one side of the wire is going to go in here and the other side is going to go 2 sleepers down to this one here. So we're going to start off with this in the absolute centre, as close to centre as you can possibly figure it, which I think is there. And then we're going to have to drill a matching hole, as I say, 2 sleepers down, right in the centre. This is probably the most important part. Make sure the wire is going to go through that hole. Obviously you would have to check your drill bit before you start. So a little bit of geometry for you. If you imagine that your spring is shaped like that, when it bends that way it straightens out. When it's in the centre it's bent in a bit. When it goes this way it straightens out a little bit. It doesn't actually, but the tension is always going to be in the middle and it wants to either spring that way or spring that way. So that's the idea behind this little design. So now we take our little bit of wire that we've cut. Don't worry, it's way too long at the moment. We're going to be snipping that down, but for the moment it's much easier to hold it onto when it's this length. You want the point of your bend right in between the 2 holes, which is about there. I'm going to mark that hole on the wire there, that hole in the wire there. And then we're going to bend these down the way. Okay. Probably easiest to do it by holding the wire with the long nose pliers like this, which keeps it straight. Bend this side straight down, like so. And the same for the other side. You want it obviously to match the other wire. So you should end up with something like that. Now, because this side moves, I'm going to cut the wire quite short. But because this side doesn't move, this goes straight into the cork and into the foam underneath. That can be quite long. And we can use that to prevent the whole thing from popping out. So, first thing I'm going to do is make sure the wires are roughly the right size, which they appear to be. I'm going to snip this about a 1/4 inch down that side and just 1/16 of an inch on that side. The long side and the short side. Best to hold on to both sides of these or it might ping off and hit your face and get in your eye, make you blind. You don't want that. Right, first test fit. Now, be warned, the chances of you getting this right first time are slim to ha-ha. But as long as you can check and make sure that these two ends are kind of in alignment, which I think they are. We're halfway there. Long side in first. Try and get the other side in. We can always bend this in a bit if it doesn't quite fit. So I think we're a wee bit long, so what I'm going to do is bend this a bit more. Okay, that's a wee bit slack, so I've bent it too much. I'm going to straighten it a little bit. Try again. I think I'll use a little screwdriver just to push this end in, because you do want it under tension, remember. I bent it too much. It's starting to get soft and brittle. Hey, trial and error. And the problem is, every set of points you do is going to be slightly different because the holes aren't always going to be lining up. What I could probably do, while it's actually in situ, I could maybe try and straighten it. Almost there. Needs to be a wee bit straighter. So you can hear it clicking in. Right, not bad for a first attempt. I'll get a feeling if I try and bend this anymore, it's going to snap. Welding wire is not the best thing to use, I don't think, but it's worth a shot. Yep, I've snapped it. Okay, Mark II. I've only bent this once, so I've probably got about 3 bends in it before I break this one. Oh, you know, I think the problem it's actually, this section I've made is too long. I need to trim that down a little bit, because apart from that, I think it was going to be great. Let's take a bow hair off of that. Pop you back in. Don't you just love fiddly little jobs? Patience is the key. Oh, much better. I am happy with that. So I can either use the little lever, or I can just grab the track itself. Great, only got about 15 more to do. Here's a closer look if you're interested. Perfect. Happy face. I do want to point out, if you're going to be using micro servos or those tortoise switches, you will need to remove those little springs that will interfere with the motion of those little servos. Apart from that, I think that's going to be great, and my little miniature engineers will be happy in the knowledge that they're going to make it round the whole layout without falling off the track. Hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe. See you soon. Bye.